the good people of all these places that you are loved and you love your neighbor, and we know it, and that we can do a lot better, and we can tell our neighbors that we can do a lot better, and that, well, we like singing, and we would love it if you would join us in this song. Now, it sounds like a whole lot of words, but me and Brandon are going to take care of most of them. And if you could just say everybody's got when that comes along, well, I would really love that. You think you can do that? All right, let's try it. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory found. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory found. Everybody everywhere with glory found. Everybody everywhere with glory found. Thank you.
Well, I was a little bit late on my jump there, but we hope you're all jumping with us tonight. Hey, we're really glad to be with you good people here at Raleigh, North Carolina, because we've been traveling around this country, as Mia said, because we've all been hearing some things that don't sit so well with our souls. Isn't that right, light of the world, salt of the earth? There's some things just don't feel so good what we're hearing, and some days you just need to hear a little something fresh. Some days you just need a little bit of passion in your heart. Some days you just need to be reminded that some people just need to be quiet for a second and let somebody else speak. Amen? If you know what I'm talking about, you happened to watch a debate last night. And you've been hearing things, friend. You've been hearing things from our president that just doesn't sound so good. Now, we like to run a family-friendly event, so we're not going to be quoting the president all night because it can get a little bit blue if we do. But you have been hearing people say that if you're a Christian, you have to vote like a Republican, and we're here to remind you that that just ain't so. Amen? And you've been hearing people tell you that the news is nothing but fake. But we're here to remind you of a little piece of that good news. And you've been hearing people say all you need to worry about is making America first. But we're here to remind you that you're to care for all of creation and to care for all the things God cares for. Can I get an amen with a little bit of clapping out of North Carolina? And you've been hearing people say, well, just stack the court with your vote. But we're here to remind you that you could gain the whole world and lose your very soul. And I feel like that's what's happening with the Republican Party in this country. Now, I got to tell you, I voted 9 times for presidents. I'm that old. 5 of those times I voted for Republicans, and I feel like there's not a chance to do that in this election. I'm not sure that I could ever do it again, because we've got something going on in this country that feels like something that I have never experienced. Now, maybe you've been living long enough that you've experienced something where a president can say something like, we need to build a wall to close those borders, but you know the truth that you're supposed to welcome the little children. You know that you have a president telling you that all you have to be concerned about is the Second Amendment, and you know that you're also supposed to think about the Second Commandment, which is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And you've been hearing a president say, just think about your 501k, but we're here to remind you that you cannot serve 2 masters. You're hearing a president say things like, 200,000 deaths, well, what can I do about it? It is what it is. We're here to remind you that blessed are those who mourn, and we're going to join together with those who mourn, and we're going to do something so people can stop their mourning in this country. And you've even heard people say, separate families so they get the message that they're not welcomed here. But we're here to remind you of that old teaching that what God has brought together, no one should ever separate. Amen? And you've been hearing people tell you that, oh, if you're a religious person in these political ages, don't tell somebody else how to vote and just keep your mouth quiet. And we're here to remind you that you're supposed to let your light shine. So we're so glad that we're here with you. Now, we don't get to say this very often, but we're coming back to Raleigh, North Carolina in just 2.5 weeks. So if you're having a good time tonight, and if you think I'd love to bring a friend, well, you get on a text right now. Tell them that you're going to invite them back in 2 weeks, because we're going to be right back in this neighborhood up the street. So I want you to bring some friends with you, because we're not traveling around this country just trying to pick on old Donald Trump. And we're not here to try to convince you that Donald Trump is a problem. In fact, we like to say the man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you. We don't have to convince you that he's a problem. In fact, we could spend all of our time tonight telling you that he's not up for the job, that he's a bad businessman, he has daily levels of new nonsense and interruption. We could tell you that he's dangerous, and you know that he is. You know that with COVID, that this man has been full of nothing but denials and dithering and doing nothing. And we got to do something about it in this country. And we can spend all night reminding you of his crassness and his corruption and his cruelty and how he's a hazard to all people on this planet and to the planet itself. We can remind you of the kids in cages. We can tell you about soldiers having a bounty put on their head. We can tell you about the corruption of his leaders and his advisors. We could talk about his consorting and bribing with other organizations and with other governments. We could talk about his disregard for decency and honor. We could tell you all night that this guy has got to go. But we are not here to remind you how bad Donald Trump is. We're here to remind you how good you are. That what you're called to do on Election Day is not worry about that man, but is to dig down deep and to vote for the common good. That you are the ones who are good. And don't let somebody else drag you down to their level telling you what he's got going on. You say, well, I know what good is, and I'm going to be voting for what is good. Now, we like to run a bipartisan event, friends. So we're not going to tell Republicans not to be Republicans, but we are going to ask every Republican not to vote for this man on Election Day. But in a bipartisan event, we're asking everyone, Republicans, Democrats, Green Party members, anarchists, the whole alike. Stop Donald Trump on Election Day and join us by voting for the common good and vote for Joe Biden for president, would you? Now, I also want to remind you that as a Christian pastor and as a Christian myself, I believe this truest in the deepest part of my heart. Every one of us is a beloved child of God, salt of the earth, light of the world. Nothing you can do about it. I believe with the deepest places in my heart that Donald Trump is a beloved child of God, salt of the earth and light of the world. But not every light of the world should be the President of the United States. And even though he's loved by God, he needs to take his dim little light and get it out of the White House because he's harming this country. And it's time that we're going to do something about it. So every day you've been able to complain. Every day you've been able to tell your friends to wake up. Every day you've been telling your friends to speak up. Every day you've been telling your friends to stand up. But one day is coming when you get to do something about it. Now, if I haven't done it by November 3rd, make sure you do it on November 3rd because November 4th is going to be too late. Now, I had the good privilege living in Minnesota to go home on Monday and fill out my own ballot and drop it in the mailbox and vote because I trust mail-in ballots and I trust that people aren't going to cheat. And I don't think this country is full of a bunch of cheaters and liars. And maybe you know that old Buddhist teaching that you see the world not as it is, but you see the world as you are. So when you hear a man telling you that everyone's going to cheat and everyone's going to lie and everyone's going to be corrupt, you might know exactly where that's coming from. Now, friends, we're here to proclaim to you that you can have faith over your fear, you can have hope over your hate, and you can have love over your lies. And we know that people get nervous. We start talking about this. They get nervous when politicians start talking about religion. They get nervous when religious people start talking about politics. So a lot of us spend a whole lot of time being way too quiet. But then sometimes people speak up. Sometimes they say yes. Because we hear a lot of no's. We hear no's from churches. When we're traveling around Vote Common Good, we hear no's from political people. Because, they all get a little nervous. And then every once in a while, a few people say yes. Well, you know who said yes to us? Well, you all did. Look around. A bunch of yes men and women sitting around here. We love yes men and women. We're really, really glad to see. I'll tell you somebody else who said yes to us, and that's the poet laureate of the Vote Common Good life. This is right straight out of Mississippi and straight out of that bus. You're our very own friend, our very own poet laureate of the Vote Common Good experience. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Genesis B.
Check, 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 check. Mic check. Can I get a little more on the monitors, please? Check, check. Thank you. My name is Genesis B, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm from Biloxi, Mississippi, y'all. Come from a very complex place. William Faulkner once said, in order to understand the world, you need to understand a place like Mississippi. So I'm an artist and an activist. My activism for the last 5 years has been focused on removing the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag. The last 5 years I've been working on that. That flag flew for 120 years. My ancestors fought against it. Some of y'all's ancestors fought against Confederate ideology as well. And I'm really proud to say as of June 30th, 2020, Mississippi retired that flag. It's no longer. Yeah, you can clap for that. Absolutely. Very seldom do we see such definitive accomplishments in this work that we do as activists. A lot of times, you die fighting for a cause, and it's not until, after you pass or the next generation till you see actual change. So that flag coming down was very meaningful to myself. And I'm here today in front of you to bear witness, to let you know that change is happening. I know it's hard to see when you're so close to it, when you're fighting for it every day. It's hard to see that change is happening as we speak. And if it can happen in Mississippi, it can happen all across America, y'all, I promise you. So I'm a hip-hop artist. I do poetry sometimes when I need to slow it down. And I'm known for my work being a bit controversial. I see that there's children in the audience. There's some peeking over there too. I don't know if y'all see them. Y'all can come up, come join us. We want to meet you. So I'll keep it as clean as possible. This piece, before I start this piece, I have a question for y'all. And it's not a rhetorical question. I would really appreciate an answer. There's no wrong answer. Just shout it out. Shout however your heart feels, okay? If Trump disappeared today, right now, poof, what would America do? Cheer? What else, y'all? What would America do if you looked at your phone right now, breaking news, Trump has disappeared? What would America do next? Celebrate? There's no wrong answer. Anybody else? Heal. I love that. Anyone else? All right. If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? Would we still have all this Twitter commotion? Would America still worship money? Would we still pollute the oceans? Would we still imprison black men and shoot them down with no emotion? Would we? This is what we did before Trump. You know, Trump didn't start that. Would women still be the smartest in the room and still get passed up for promotions? What would America do if Trump no longer exists? Would we still destroy our planet for profit? Would we still have private prisons, the new slave trade and auction? Would men still write laws dictating what women do with our bodies, stripping away anatomical autonomy? Would we still shame women who use sex as commodity, but not shame men who buy sex in pornography? Let that sink in. Would we still turn a blind eye to all this hypocrisy? What would America do if it was up to you? Would you finally purge law enforcement of white supremacist bigots? Would you finally grant equal rights to poor whites and immigrants? Would preachers still use the pulpit to pimp our communities? Would boys still be boys, raping and assaulting with impunity? Would we still ignore the killing of trans folks? Because this is where America stands, folks. To know what America would do, we ask, what has America done? Well, for one, we massacred our native population. We did that. From the blood of black slaves, we built the richest of nations. And we waged war before. We cried wolf with terrorist threats. You remember weapons of mass destruction? It's crazy how quickly we forget. I've seen America burn crosses on the lawns of my father. I've seen America separate mothers and toddlers. I've seen America vote for men whose only moral is money. Men who appeal to the sexism and racism of my beautiful Christian country. So here we are. We search for a savior to save us from the big orange goblin. Some magical Democrat that can solve all our nation's problems. But Trump is just a symptom of a money-hungry system that never had regard for our troops, no regard for the truth, no regard for the planet, and no regard for the youth. Trump was born into this, just like you and I. Trump is as American as apple pie. So I won't ask, what would America do? We know what America's done. Instead, I ask, what can America be if we step up in the days to come? Can we be a place where pharmaceutical riches do not result in more sickness? Where corporations have constraint and cannot buy our politicians? Where the money we use to wage war go to healing Mother Earth or building houses for the poor? It's just a thought. A place where all synagogues are safe. Where our Muslim brothers and sisters and siblings are looked upon with grace, inshallah. Where young girls can walk the streets without being harassed because young boys are taught to understand the traumatizing effect that has. So what can America be? A place where someone who looks like me and loves like me can actually feel safe and free? Where black and brown women are not minimized and the image of us outside reflects the power of our insides. Our potential, our resilience, our imagination, and our brilliance. Because my ancestors fought for me to have a voice. They fought for me to have a vote. So I talk my ish and I cast my ballot. I honor them by doing both. Because they knew, they did, They knew what America could be, but it starts with you and it starts with me. Because although he spews lies and his actions show cowardice, assigning that much power to any man will eventually render you. That's right. So don't ask, what would America do? Ask, what can America be? And the answer to that question, my friends, is solely up to you and me. I'm Genesis B. Round of applause for check. Round of applause for Mia Pace and Mario.
Oh, thanks, Genesis. Thank you, thank you. Always very powerful words by Genesis B. Like she said, my name is Mia. This is Mario. And we traveled here from New York to tell you some good news. A change is coming, y'all. It's coming. You know why? Because my grandma said that it's coming. And I believe everything she says. Because she's always right. Another reason is because she is 88 years old. I think that's right. And she remembers a time where she wasn't allowed to vote. And she tells me that all the time. And she says she remembers the day that she could go and vote. And she went and signed up. And she's been voting ever since. I love my grandma, LaCora Nickens. And after last night, well, it reminded me of something that she says all the time. Heaven help us all. So we're going to share a little song with you today. I know it. This is a song I wrote called I Hope. How could we ever come to this, you say? Our lives do not matter, and justice has no face. To study war and anger burns the fabric of our state, sends a message to our neighbors that we've fallen from the fray. It's a long road to walk on, and I don't know where it ends, but I hope. And when I'm too tired to carry on, I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope. Dream on.
Sorry if I just hold that tonight, all right? So I'm Vanessa, and I am an artist and a pastor, and I'm a wife and I'm a mom. And I just joined the tour. I'm not a professional speaker by any means. Been on the tour for about a week, and I got on just before Pennsylvania. That's the town where I grew up. And I was really excited to be able to pass through Pennsylvania and be able to take my son and show him the college where I went and where I met my husband, little Bible college up in Pennsylvania. And it was one of those little Bible colleges where you couldn't dance and you couldn't listen to rock music and you couldn't go to movies and you couldn't drink and you couldn't smoke and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I had a lot of fun, and maybe that seems kind of funny to say, but you have to understand where I came from. See, I grew up going to a little private Christian school. My parents wanted to give us a really good education, and they thought that that would be a good place for us. And so I went to that school from kindergarten through 12th grade, and I don't know how else to describe that place other than to tell you that that place was a dark place. You see, when I was a little girl, 6 years old, I have a 6-year-old little girl, little curly hair, little freckles, curious about everything. When I was her age, I was in line to go to the drinking fountain with my class, and I saw a bulletin board, and it had one of those little bumpy edges around it, and I wanted to touch it because I didn't know what that felt like, and I reached out, and my teacher grabbed me by the shoulder and marched me around the corner and put me in a dark room and closed the door. And it didn't really get much better over the years. You know, we would walk in the door as we got a little older, and the teacher would look you up and down and see if you passed the dress code. And if you didn't, you would get sent to the bathroom and you'd kneel down in that subservient way in front of a teacher and have them measure your worth, measure your skirt. So it was rules all the time. Just one executive order after another. One year they made a rule that you couldn't wear socks and pantyhose at the same time because that looked too much like Madonna. So you can see why in college I had a little bit more fun. Got to relax a little bit. So a few years ago, it was actually 2016, before the election, my husband and my oldest child and I got to go to our class reunion there and got to see all our old college friends and stuff. And when the reunion was done, we went back to the hotel room. We were tired after all that small talk and whatnot. And we turned on the news, and the news that night was the Access Hollywood tape. Do you remember that? That was a long time ago. The Access Hollywood tape, that was when Donald Trump was bragging about how he could grab a woman any way he wanted to and didn't ask permission, could just invade her space and her body. He could do whatever he wanted. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, coming from the place that I had come, well, good, that's the end of him. That's the end of this nonsense. And you know how that turned out. So I woke up the day after Election Day, and I was devastated, and I felt betrayed by those people. And I was trying to figure out what to do, and all my friends came to my house, and it was sort of like a funeral. And they started to get involved, but I didn't know what I was going to do. See, I grew up Republican. That was my team, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I would go into the booth every time the election came around, and I was a good voter, and I would go and I would vote for my team, because that's what you did. I knew somehow I was waking up that that was not going to be enough. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to be a part. Well, about a year ago, it was August 3rd. All my kids were home. My 2 college kids and my high schooler and my little bitty. And the whole house is full and the refrigerator's empty. It's a good time. And we decided we were going to go back to school shopping at Walmart. Had all the kids in the mom van, and I held up my phone so we could take a selfie. And I took the phone down and was going to post it, and I looked, and there was a breaking news alert that there had been another shooting. Another shooting. Another shooting. And this one was in El Paso. And there was something about the fact that we were in Walmart back to school shopping, and those people were at Walmart back to school shopping. I was in Arkansas, but they were in Texas, but something about that felt so close. And the news began to unfold about what had happened in this particular shooting. How the shooter had his guns laid out in the name of Trump. He took a photograph of that and posted it on his social media to impress that man with all his hate. And the eyewitnesses told us that he would go through that store and he would pass over the people that were white and save his bullets for the people of color. And that wrecked me. That broke me. Because my third child, my Charlie, is adopted. She is a beautiful Latina, black straight hair and chocolate eyes, and she sings like an angel, and she is the glue that holds our family together. She's like Beth in Little Women. Everybody loves her, and she has no idea why. And I thought, if we had been there instead of here, that shooter would have hated her enough to kill her just because of the color of her skin. And I knew that I had to do something. I was so unsettled that I got on a plane and I flew to El Paso because I had to understand what in the world is happening in my country. What is happening? And so I went and I saw that long memorial, the people grieving, and their flowers and their gifts in remembrance. And I saw the detention center where they were holding people, holding families. Not unlike the place where, even this past week we learned that there are women that are having their uteruses stolen from them, their power, their future. And I saw that ugly wall. In New York, they have Lady Liberty, and on that border we have an ugly, ugly, rusty wall. And that's when I began to find my voice, because I know what it's like to be a little kid trapped in bad policy, with men who make decisions about what happens to you that don't have your best interest at heart. You see, in that school where I grew up, Genesis just talked about how Trump is a goblin, a monster. And in our school, we had a monster too. That monster was at the bottom of the stairs. And the little girls would walk along hallway, and his room would be there, and then the stairs to go to the office. And so you had to pass by that monster. And that monster preyed on the little girls that walked by. He gobbled them up, invaded their space, didn't ask for their permission to touch them. And when the news leaked out, it squeaked out, they tried to tell their truth. The men in charge of that school, those good religious voters, they gave that man a love offering and sent him on his way so that he could do it again. You see, these last 4 years have felt a lot like walking by the room where the monster is, where that man has reached out and grabbed us and touched us, jammed his tweets down our throats, groped us with his overreach, his executive orders. Back then, we needed a pastor or a priest, and instead we got a pedophile. And now we need a president. And we have this piece of work. See, my teacher used to tell us, girls, you gotta look out. You gotta be careful. You gotta stay away from an international man. You know what an international man is, right? He's got Roman hands and Russian fingers. So I am asking you tonight, I am asking you not to give this man the love offering of your vote. I am a mother. I'm a biological mother, and I'm an adoptive mother, and I'm a spiritual mother. And I am asking people to vote for the common good. I am asking you to vote like a mother.
Thank you, Vanessa. Another hand for her, right? Vanessa just joined us a week or so ago. I don't know the time. Time on the bus is a different reality, but it's been great to have her with us. My name's Brandon. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in southern Indiana in a small, great Christian, non-denominational Christian church. I remember when Bill Clinton was impeached, and it was a big deal with a lot of folks at my church because he was not a moral man, and we needed to support a moral man. One of our Vote Common good friends, Dan Dietrich, wrote this song, so I'd like to play it for you. It's called Hymn for the 81%. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning, evening service. I knelt in tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred. Feed the hungry and clothe the naked. I learned from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. And I thought you'd do the same. So imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. That's right. Oh, they started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, and I look to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence. Even worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. And your fear it turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponize religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your wall. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. Come home, you're better. You taught me better. Come home, come home. I know you're better than this, 'cause you taught me better than this. You said to love the lost, I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. So why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. Dan Dietrich. Dietrich, him for the 81%.
Well, good evening, friends. My name is John, and I am a jerk blogger. I'm a subversive pastor. I am a Soros-funded radical leftist, still waiting on my first check. And it is an honor to be with you today. This is my home. I drove 20 minutes to be here. And during midterm elections, I traveled on that bus for a little while with some of the amazing, talented, passionate, beautiful people who are here tonight. And I want to tell you, it's a beautiful thing, but it's an introvert's nightmare. Hallelujah. So this is my kind of gathering. I want to let you know that it matters that you're here. It matters that you're here because of what you're about to do with this country. I want to begin by sharing with you 3 different lengths of time. The first length of time I want you to think about is the past 4 years. Specifically, the past 1,349 days of your life. And I want to ask you during that time, what have you seen? I want to tell you what I've seen over the past 1,349 days. I've seen travel bans. I've seen family separations. I've seen border walls. I've seen school shootings. I've seen fine people false equivalencies. I've seen pepper-sprayed Bible photo ops. I've seen 2005 dead Americans. I've seen anti-mask protests. I've seen lies about this virus. I've seen denials of science. I've seen a lot over the past 1,349 days. What have you seen? Think about what you've seen. I've seen assaults on dreamers. I've seen assaults on unarmed black men. I've seen assaults on health care. I've seen assaults on free speech. I've seen assaults on the rights of women. I've seen assaults on objective truth over the past 1,349 days. Have you seen what I've seen? Yeah. What have you seen? Over the past 1,349 days, I've seen attacks on the environment. I've seen attacks on peaceful protesters. I've seen attacks on the electoral process. I've seen attacks on the U.S. Postal Service. I've seen attacks on journalists. Have you seen what I've seen over the past 1,349 days? Have you seen it? Yeah. That's not all I've seen. I've seen nonsensical conspiracy theories. I've seen stoked racism. I've seen white vigilantes celebrated. I've seen black people killed twice. First their bodies assassinated and then their characters. Have you seen what I've seen? The question regarding the things that you've seen over the last 1,349 days is, friends, have you seen enough? Yeah. Because I've seen enough. I've seen enough cruelty. I've seen enough criminality. I've seen enough malevolence. I've seen enough hatred. I've seen enough needless death. I've seen enough constitutional crises and manufactured emergencies. I've seen enough presidential tweet tantrums to last a lifetime. And here's the thing, I want to see something better. Don't you want to see something better? See, that's the second length of time I want you to think about. I want you to think about the next 4 years of your life and your family and this nation and your church and your neighborhood. I want you to imagine what you could see with those next 4 years. What do you dream of? I dream to see America recover its collaborative spirit. I dream of people of faith and morality and conscience rising up to let their voices be heard. I dream of seeing privilege confronted. I dream of seeing equity pursued. I dream of seeing bigotry shouted down. I dream to see justice nurtured. I dream to see compassion trend again. I dream to see diversity celebrated. I dream to see American greatness give way to common goodness again. So we have the last 4 years, or the last 1,349 days, and what we've seen. And then we have the next 4 years of what we want to see. So the last length of time I want you to think about is the next 34 days. Because between now and then, you get to shape what happens. You get to take all the things that you've seen that you never want to see again. You get to hold that in your heart, and you get to speak those words, and you get to do that work, and then you get to take the things that you want to see and make them a reality in the way that only we can. We get 34 days to usher out the America that we've seen and bring in the America that we dream of seeing. It's in our hands. No politician, no party, no preacher, no celebrity. It's in our hands to create the America that we dream of seeing. So here's what you have to do now. Because it's not about what Joe Biden is going to do. Joe Biden has lived a life, and that work, it speaks for itself. And it's not about what Donald Trump is going to do or say, because his malignant body of work is what it is. There are no surprises coming that are going to change anything. And guess what? The great news for me as a jerk blogger, subversive pastor, heretic who's going to hell, it's not really up to me either. Because all the people that are going to change this election, they're not listening to me. They're listening to you. They exist in your world, in your family. They exist in your church, in your circle of friends. The people who are somehow, magically, inexplicably undecided. People who have not yet been moved out of their apathy or their anger or their hopelessness. People who have not yet removed their temporary affiliation with a party to stand in the way of a despot. And those people, I don't have an audience with them anymore. Nothing I write is going to magically transform their minds. Only you. In the trenches of their lives, in the middle of their stories, that's where you have power and influence and a voice, and it's time in the next 34 days that you use them. You're going to reach people in your home, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your job, and on social media. So the last 4 years, what have you seen? Have you seen enough of it? In the next 4 years, what do you dream of seeing, and what are you prepared to do in the cause of those things? And the next 34 days, actually I was mistaken. It's not 34 days. It's 35 days. Because no matter what happens on November 3rd, you're going to wake up on November 4th, and there's going to be a world that needs people of faith and morality and conscience to do the work of love and mercy and justice. But please vote so we don't have to worry about it. But it's important because we're all thinking about this day. And nothing that we worry about, nothing that we're grieved by, none of the things that we've seen are going to change on November 4th. Donald Trump didn't create this. He just gave it life. He gave it a platform. He nurtured it. He celebrated it. And so we're going to wake up in a world that needs people of compassion and mercy and love and justice to do the hard work of creating the America that could be out of the America that is. It's my hope, it's my prayer that you do that. Create the America that you dream of seeing together. Peace and thank you.
Thank you, John. It's always good to see you. I've definitely seen enough, definitely. But one thing I have also seen is I've seen my friends become activists. I've seen my family members speak about voting, and I've never heard that before from some of my aunties. uncles. I've seen myself hang out and have conversations with Republicans. I love that. That's wonderful. I've seen some beautiful things happen too, and it's only because we have to have love and compassion for each other. This is a song by my favorite songwriter, Stevie Wonder. Heaven help the child who's never had a home. Heaven help the girl who walks the streets alone. Heaven help the roses if the bombs begin to fall. Heaven help us all. Heaven help the black man if he struggles one more day. Heaven help the white man if he turns his back away. Heaven help the people with their backs against the wall. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us, Lord, hear our call when we call. Oh, yeah. Heaven help the young boy who won't reach 21. Heaven help the man who gave that boy a gun. Heaven help the man who kicks the man who has to crawl. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Oh, all right. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us, Lord, hear our call when we call. Heaven help us all. Now I lay me down before I go to sleep. In a troubled world, I pray the Lord to keep hate from the mighty and the mighty from the small. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Heaven help us all. Oh, oh, yeah. Heaven help us all. Oh, heaven help us, Lord, hear our call when we call. Heaven help us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. We've been talking about singing that song for weeks, and we got to hear it tonight. It's so fun. Hey, I kind of feel a little lonely. Nobody's been using this mic. I hope I didn't ruin it. This is one of the parts of our evening that I like so much. I like to call this our Harvey Milk moment. This is the time when we're here to recruit you, because we want to take you along with us. Now, there's a couple of ways you can go with us. Now, we can't take you in that bus because we're busy quarantining, and we're bringing new people on all the time. But we'd love for you to text your phone, text the word GOOD to 66866, just like that sign says there, because we want to get you on our email list, because we want to tell you about a number of things that we have going on. One of those things you see already up here, which are these yard signs. We have these yard signs in the back there, and we want you in the tank with us. So if you make a contribution back there at the tent, we turn that money into fuel, because there's 4 things that move us around this country. You know, 3 of them, faith, hope, and love, but the 4th, diesel. So if you make a contribution back there, we turn that right into diesel, and we'd love to send you home with a yard sign, send you home with a t-shirt, because we think you put one of these yard signs next to, say, a Black Lives Matter sign, or next to a Biden sign, or next to the senator you're going to vote for, or the congressperson you're going to vote for, and it sends an additional message to your neighbors. So don't just take 1, take 3, take 4, take 5, make donations on behalf of your neighbors. They're going to love you for having done it, and fill up your whole street with these signs. We've done it in my neighborhood in Minneapolis. It's so much fun to just come down the street and see all these signs. Now, people love seeing a sign that says, hope not hate, and faith not fear, and love not lies, they love seeing that because it tells them a bigger story. So take one of those with you. Another thing we have in the back there are our postcards. Now we're super excited about this. You can see the postcards over here. They're not this big in the back. You're going to get regular old-sized postcards back there. But they have a Christian message on one side, designed for a Christian voter. And at the bottom it says, join me in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. Because I got to tell you, friends, one of the things that many people have never had, because if they go to a certain church or they just watch certain newscasts or their algorithm on their social media or the people in their family are telling them all the time that all the good people of faith they know are voting for Donald Trump. Now, people, we're not here to change anybody's mind, right? Because you can't change somebody's mind. If they're already convinced of Donald Trump, they're going to stay that way. But there's a lot of people who aren't sure about Donald Trump anymore. Their minds have started to shift, and what they need is for their heart and their action to catch up with them. So it's not about changing their mind, it's about changing their behavior to catch up with their mind that's already changed. And we know these people exist because we've been mailing 11,000 postcards across the country to them in 5 swing states, and we hear from them all the time. We hear from people who get these postcards. So what we want you to do is take home a pack of postcards with that message on one side, and then it's blank on the back, right? It's postcard. So then you get to write your own message, and then you put an address on it. And inside the packets back there are not only 15 of these postcards, but are 15 mailing addresses of people that we know live in North Carolina, are going to vote, and they're likely Christian voters. There's a way you can sort all this stuff. We've done all the work. We paid the money. We got the addresses. And inside of each one of those envelopes are these 15 cards and 15 mailing addresses. So what we want you to do, put a stamp on it and to send that off, because we know you can't go door to door, but we know you can go mailbox to mailbox. And I promise these have significant impact in these days. So take some of those home. Maybe you've got some friends, text them, ask them if they want to be in a postcard writing campaign with you, and then get together on Zoom or socially distance in a backyard, or go to a park, write out all these postcards, drop them in the mailbox. And like John was saying, it's a way for you to connect with people, and we promise you it's going to make a big impact. And speaking of stamps, back there at the table, this is our second time to tell people about this great project we have going. We're going to try to bake America great again with a citizen-led nationwide bake sale to save the United States Post Office. So on October 24th, friends, we want you to start a bake sale. We want you to have a bake sale out on your street corner. We want you to have a bake sale in front of a church. We want you to have a bake sale in front of a post office. We want you to get a group of friends together, and all of you have bake sales. You're going to bake, then people are going to come and they're going to buy baked goods from you by using U.S. postage stamps. So they're going to buy stamps, that funds the post office, they're going to give them to you, you're going to give them a baked good, and then you're going to take those stamps and donate them to a nonprofit, and everyone's going to win. And when we do this with hundreds and hundreds of bake sales around the country, we're going to be raising awareness and a big, huge publicity stunt to remind people that the Democrats are doing all that they can, but Republicans and Donald Trump are doing what they can to stop the post office. And week before the election, we want to have a Bake America Great Again citizen-wide national bake sale. So be sure you stop at that place back there. Now, hey, even more, you send us a text message and we're going to send you an email tomorrow. You know what we're going to tell you about? We're going to tell you about billboards that we're putting up all over the country that have a quote from Jesus on one side, like turn the other cheek, and a picture and a quote from Donald Trump on the other side saying things like, I want to punch him in the face. Because what we're going to do is put billboards up all over this country where people who are driving down the road have to explain to their children why Donald Trump says things like that, because we think it's time that we let the little children speak a little bit of wisdom in this country. So we have all kinds of things going, so we're not done with you tonight. Like I mentioned, we're going to be coming back in a couple of weeks, and we want you in on this with us. And we want you to send postcards, we want you to put signs in your yards, we want you to call people. By the way, get on this email list, and tomorrow you're also going to find out about a calling campaign right here to young voters in North Carolina who care about the environment. And on Sunday, you can start calling voters in a calling system to get them to turn out to vote. So this whole thing, this is all a recruitment piece. We want you in on all of this with us. So we want you in that tank, we want you in the mailbox, we want you in the bake sale, and we want you on the phone doing all that you can for these next 34 days. So we're super excited about this. Now we're not done because we have 2 more treats for you, and one of them is brand new. Now we've been doing these tours all over the country since January 2nd. We pulled that big bus up outside the White House to send a message to the White House, and we've been driving to churchyards and parking lots and union halls and street corners all over the country since then. And until tonight, no one has been able to enjoy what you're about to enjoy. And that's because Steph is with us. This is Steph's first day. Come on up here, friend. Come on up here. She just literally Her arms are tired. She just flew in from, and see, now you're going over that mic, but that's probably the right place for you. I think it's the right place. This is Steph's first time. Steph is a musical artist in her own right, but her first time being with us. So we need you to give her that vote common good welcome. Steph, thanks for being with us. Cheer her on. Tell her thank you for being with us. We're going to figure out how to plug a cord and a cable in. And Steph is going to be with us throughout the rest of the throughout the rest of the tour, and we're going to get this all figured out. Steph, thanks so much for being a part of this with us.
Thank you so much. And if I would have known, I was like thrown into this, like literally. I'm going to watch this one tonight, right? Nope, you're getting on. I'm like, woo! So I'm sorry, my hair looks like it was combed with a ceiling fan. So, I was first of all, I was raised. My parents have been married for 100 years, and this really makes me emotional because I have never seen such horrible hatred out there. It breaks my heart. It really does. And my mom and dad, they scolded me when I did something as bad as Trump does. I'm sorry, but they did. I got yelled at, and you don't do that. You don't act like that. And you love people. And I was sitting around one night, and something had been said, and I was just like, God, it's got to stop. So anyway, I went up in my room and I wrote this song. I hope you guys like it.
How we gonna build a bridge when all we do is build a wall? How can we claim we're not all the same when God made us all? How we gonna raise our babies? Yeah, how we gonna teach them grace? We preach about love on Sundays, but Mondays is back to hate. So here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother, and we all laugh, we all love, and we all bleed. I got so into it, I forgot my words. I'm sorry, I lose my track. I've got ADD really bad. It's horrible. Don't ever have ADD.
So good.
We all want a better tomorrow. Yeah, 'cause everybody's had enough of all of the hurt and the hatred. Yeah, we could sure use some love. Oh, but getting there, it won't be easy. There's so much work to be done. For better or worse, it's all up to us. But a change has just got to come. So here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother, and we all laugh, we all love, and we all bleed. But change has got to come. Yeah, so here's another song about love. It's just another song about love. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Please, another round of applause for Steph. That was amazing. Yeah, so glad to have you with us.
It's gonna be fun.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an adventure. So we're about to wrap this up for y'all. I just wanted to do one more piece for you. I told you before that I'm from Mississippi. Talked about the Mississippi state flag. We talk about if change can happen in Mississippi, it can happen in America. I just wanted to say something about Trump not condemning white supremacy last night. He told the Proud Boys to stand down and stand by. It's interesting for me, someone who grew up in Mississippi, whose family fought against white supremacy, since before I was born. I think about Reagan, I think about Nixon, all these other presidents who also boosted white supremacy, but it was more coded language, more dog whistle, more coded language, criminalizing super predators, locking up black men for minor offenses, expanding the incarceration of black and brown people. They did it so slick to where good folks like y'all, who look just like y'all, upheld those presidents and upheld those systems. So that's when I try to explain that, to me, Trump is like the epitome of the America that I've always known. There's no difference for me. So if Trump leaves, I want to know, what will y'all really do? Like, will y'all continue to fight for people who look like me? It's a valid question. I just wanted to say that before I drop this piece. Mississippi is a microcosm of a nation. Police exoneration, mass incarceration. Black and brown bodies, a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like the White House is painted in our Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty, keeping us separate and divided. Gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mysteries. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Because my dad, he was only 5 when the Klan drive-by buzzed bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high, and these are the truths that some choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lie is a prison of their own design. Some have forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Because white supremacy is a lie, and some have accepted it. A Confederate curse they inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and their fear of the other has blocked their own blessings from their sisters and brothers. Outrage, fatigue, I'm screaming, I can't breathe! From the top, it trickles down, from our judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake Twitter avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, Tooth Fairy Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off, don't they, John? They call me the N-word, the B-word, and the like. Well, call me whatever you like, because I've been through worse in this fight, and the hatred in your words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin? Send us to build your economy? They pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignations. Just federal indictments and mock trials. You see, my heart bleeds as a billboard reads, "Make America white again," as my favorite rapper concedes. Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe, y'all. But still, I love America. I do. Because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives, in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against the bigots you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Use your voice or choose a march. Ruth is gone, grab the torch. You can read a book, you can write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, please. Freedom and justice is under attack. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazis showing faces. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
Well, friends, our last bit for the night, it involves this little card that you were handed when you walked in. Maybe you were given one of these Love and Politics pledge cards. In fact, I'll invite you to stand up as our call response part of the night. And if you don't have one of those cards in your hand, Brady's coming up the backside, and he's going to give you one of those. So if you need a Love and Politics pledge card, what this is, it's not a pledge that we ask of our politicians. They have to make a pledge when they take an oath of office. This is a pledge for voters. What we're asking of voters is that they would demand more of our politicians. That we say to our politicians, we expect that you would comport yourselves in a way consistent with love in your professional and political duties. We don't think it's too much to ask that if someone's going to represent you, they would act in a way consistent with love. Don't you think that's a good idea? And then we ask you to make this commitment that if they act in a way of love, you will recognize it and lend your verbal support to it. And if they don't act in a way of love, that you'll speak out, you'll demand that they change and support them if they do and condemn them if they don't, no matter whose party they're from, whether they're your politician or someone else's. We're not going to give anybody a pass on not being loving in politics. And then finally, that you'd expect the politicians would speak to one another and demand of other politicians that they would act in a way of love. No more of this, well, I wouldn't tweet it that way of being a leader in this country. So those are the 4 commitments. And then on the back, we have this bit that's the Love and Politics, part of the Love and Politics pledge. It comes from the book of 1 Corinthians 13. And I got to tell you, I say this at most of our little rallies. It's going to sound a little bit like you're at a wedding when someone starts reading a love passage out of 1 Corinthians 13. And then we're out here on the side yard of a church sitting on these folding chairs, and this is going to feel wedding all over. But this is not supposed to be a wedding commitment. Love is something for a community to live out, not just for a couple to live out. So we think this is a good way for us to understand what love is all about. Here's the fun part. You get to say love 13 times in a row, and then if you want to join me in the rest of it, you're welcome to as well. But you get the big love part. So it goes a little something like this. Love is patient. Yeah, hey, friends, let's hit it like we're saying love for the first time. Like you're falling in love and politics. Here we go. Love. There you go, is patient. Love. Is kind. Love. Does not envy. Love. Does not boast. Love. Is not proud. Love. Does not dishonor others. Love. Is not self-seeking. Love. Is not easily angered. Yeah, keeps no record of wrongs, does not delight in evil, rejoices with the truth, always perseveres, always trusts, always protects, always hopes. Love in politics is what we think will change this country. And friends, if you love your neighbors, ask your neighbors to do what you're going to do. Love your neighbor the way you love yourself. Over the next 34 days, you have a chance to say to your neighbors, here's what I think the right thing is for us and our country. Would you be people of love in your politics? Would you be people of love in your neighbors? Would you be people who are going to put a little bit of love into this world on November 3rd? And our friend Mia, our friend Mario, they're going to serenade us out of here. So it's really good to have you with us. We're going to be back on October 22nd. So we'd love to see you. Get on that email list and we'll stay in touch with you. And we'll see you back at the participation tent and making a little magic on making America great again.
Yeah.